welcome to episode 14. This one's an exciting one for me. Bucket list fish. They're in the 600-gallon Predator tank. And behind me you see the 125 Asian Stream. Just a real quick update on that. Everything is going great, as you can see. At least within a week and a half, it hasn't become overrun with algae again. And I've kept an eye on the nitrates, and so far they're holding steady. And if I show you here, you can see that the wisteria that I put in there, which was growing immersed in my pond, my sort of grow out pond for the 3,000 gallon. You can see the leaves here, they're starting to convert back, and you got new growth down at the bottom, the thicker, submerged growth. And same with a little offshoot over there. But yeah, tank is doing great, but that's not what this video is about. This video is about the Predator tank, but I guess before we get there, just give you another quick update before we get to the Predator pond and the bucket list fish is just the 1,500 gallon system. This is the 265 part of it. We got the rescape on the rock work done, and we have the new pumps in there, so we've got a different water flow than we had before, but I'm having a hard time getting any new items for this tank, for this and the refugium. As you recall, we're converting the sump to the refugium. So I need a lot of cleaning crew. I need macroalgae. I want to get some corals for the 265 that are emperor angelfish proof, and a bunch of other things. But where I live, we've been under a sheet of ice for 2 weeks, and snow and ice, and it's just been really terrible. So everything is just sort of delayed. But let's go around and check out. We'll just do a quick glimpse at the refugium. I want to show you, the nasty stuff along with the good stuff. So when you take a denitrifying sump, which didn't have any lighting and it had anaerobic denitrifying bacteria, you have one setup. But then when you convert it over to aerobic bacteria under lighting, you're going to get this kind of nasty look. You're going to have a lot of die-off of the other bacteria and a lot of growth of the new bacteria. So it's going through that process. And really the thing that's just holding me back on getting it fully functional is just ordering in the cleanup crew for the sump. So the refugium, excuse me. There's a lot of critters I want to add in here, and they all have a job to do as part of the filtration. But it's just, all this snow and ice, it's just been a real pain trying to get anything. So far, all I was able to source was a little bit of Chaeto from the local store, and that's it so far. All right, this is an exciting day. This was like about 3 weeks ago, and I came home with 2 of my bucket list fish. So I have a short list of sharks and rays that I've been wanting to keep for a long time, and this is 2 of them. This is a horn shark and a round ray. Sometimes people call it a halleri ray. That's part of its scientific name, or a round ray. All these fish, they have a lot of common names, but so I had a short list of 2 rays I was looking for and 3 or 4 sharks, and of course these guys were on the list. And the really cool thing about it is it's been hard to ship anything because the weather's been crazy cold, and then lately here it's been snowing and sleeting and ice, and I was actually able to find these at a local fish store, which is just, I just couldn't believe it that they had them when I went in there. So I mean, they do carry this stuff from time to time, but to get 2 of the ones on my list and the right size and everything, it's just been really, really cool. So the ray is actually pretty close to full size. They only have about a 10-inch disc when they're full grown, and he's about there. And the horn shark, on the other hand, though, that's a juvenile, probably around 16 inches or so. But let's get some food in here and get these guys active. All right, so super excited to get these bucket list fish, and they smell some squid that I put in there, and going a little crazy. But I wanted to get them out and swimming about, because as you know, the stingrays will huddle in the sand, and also with this tank in the front there's a decent little bit of area they can go right on the substrate where it's not easy to see them. So I figure I go ahead and just go ahead and get some food in for them to get them out and about and active. And who doesn't like seeing sharks and rays feed? I know it's definitely awesome, so we will do that. But if I can, he's coming up, keep track of these guys. So, sorry, filming and feeding these guys at the same time. Not the easiest thing in the world. Let's see if we can grab another piece of food here and bring it in, another piece of squid. And let's see if we can entice the horn shark. And, oh yeah. So, it's been a few weeks with these guys, and they're both really good eaters. I've been feeding them primarily squid and shrimp, raw squid. And you can see, here's the squid up here on a plate, and scoop off another piece. So these are bucket list fish for me. My very first big saltwater tank was the 265 that you have in wall. Still the same tank I have right now, which I got in 1999. And the reason I got that is because I had a baby leopard shark. And, you know, I was a lot younger, and it was a lot harder to get good information back then. And I was assured that even though they get, you know, a certain size in the ocean, 5 to 7.5 feet long, something like that, in the aquarium environment, oh no, they'll be 3 feet long. Well, it took about all of, I don't know, a year and a half or something for that shark to get 3 feet long, and there was no sign of stopping. So that's actually when I built my first DIY aquarium, which was an 8-foot by 5-foot tank, and that was for that shark. And then he proceeded to outgrow that as well. And it sort of started me down the path of wanting to build larger tanks, you know, that can house the fish for their entire life. I was never happy that I wasn't able to provide for the fish for his entire life in my care. So that was one thing I always try to do now. It's kind of funny watching this, try to position that squid, is provide homes for the fish for their entire life. Actually, it looks like they're both getting a little full on squid right now, carrying around pieces. Both of them are. That's funny. So we'll take the feeding stick out and let these guys work on their meals. So at any rate, that got me started down that path. And the reality of it is to be able to build really big tanks for these guys, I wasn't always in a position to do it, you know. Didn't have the room, didn't have the money, or I was not necessarily going to stay where I was living long enough that I felt like it was worth putting all that effort into building a big tank. So obviously you see the 3,000 gallon and even this system, the 600 gallon, you know, I am in a position now where I feel comfortable building these big tanks because they'll be here for a while. Or there's no plans to go anywhere, so they'll be here hopefully for a long while. But at any rate, that's what got me started with the big tanks, and finally getting to this point is the reason I had to wait so long for these guys is to get the right situation to keep them, you know. And the 600 gallon, it's certainly big enough. Don't get me wrong, it's a big tank, but it's tall. You know, this is you know, it's a 4-foot tall tank, 4 foot front to back, and 6 feet long. That's a big tank, but for these kind of fish, it's not so big, and it's also it's not optimal for how they operate. Yeah, sure, they'll use some of the height of the tank, but they're more or less, you know, living on the bottom part of the tank. And as you can see here, they can kind of get up in the front there, and you really kind of got to lean over. It's the tank was built more for actually being a reef slope. It was going to have a very tall 4-foot reef in the, you know, sloping up from the front to the back, and I was going to have a larger you know, fish in it, like large tangs and large angels. And then that was the design of the tank. But I decided that I just couldn't wait anymore to get these predators, and wanted them for so long. And you know, I was like, well, this tank will be big enough, but you know what? It's not going to house them the way I want to do it. So I'm going to have to do something to fix this. And you might be thinking, you know, am I going to get rid of these fish when they get bigger? Am I going to rehome them? No, that's not what I'm going to do. I have a different plan, and my plan is I'm going to build them a 1,500 gallon Predator Bay new aquarium. So I'm going to build them a 12-foot long by 6-foot wide by 3-foot tall aquarium that is going to be well suited for not only the shark and ray that I have right now, but maybe some other sharks and rays or groupers or eels. Or I think I could come up with something to be a good tank mate for these guys. But so here is the beginnings of Predator Bay. It's not put together or anything like that. These are just placed out, just still working on, finalizing the design. But more or less, this is the kind of the gist of it as far as the main supports. And of course, there'll be a lot of other cross supports and filtration and all that. But like I mentioned, it's been snowing and icing and everything, so I'm actually having to do the construction inside the house, which is not ideal whatsoever. So it's definitely kind of slowing me down, and just getting the material and everything with the crappy conditions. But it is happening, and I am gonna, work on it as quickly as possible. So they're fine. The fish are fine in the 600 gallon, for as long as I need to be in there. I mean, they'd be good in there for years, and this project will always only take months, so not years. But what I'm gonna do is I'll give updates on Predator Bay here as I build it. I don't know if I'll, make individual update videos on it, like, kind of like building the tank, part 1, 2, 3, that sort of thing. Or if I'll just include it in other videos, so when we're doing an update on the 150, or the 3,000 gallon, or the 220, or the 125, or the 1,500 gallon system, whatever we're doing, maybe we'll touch on the progress of this tank. But either way, no matter how I do it, I'll try to do it whatever I think makes the most sense for, providing a good update with enough substance for its own video. But regardless of however that works out, in the end, I'll do a build video on it, a separate build video, from start to finish, so you can see the progression of the tank all the way from start to finish. And I'll cover it in one of the build segments for this video, for the Predator Bay tank, but it's going to be different. It's not going to be the same kind of tank as a 3000. While it's going to be a DIY tank and everything like that, you're going to see that the way it's built is going to be quite different, and it's going to, let me just give you a hint, it's going to have a lot more glass than just like the 2 panels, like say on the 3000, or the single panel on the 600 gallon. So it'll be interesting. Once again, I know some people have asked in comments, hey, why did you do this way, or could you build this way or that way? And the answer is, yeah, you can build it a lot of different ways. There's not one right way. There's not even like a couple right ways. There's a whole lot of right ways to do it. It just sort of depends on what you're trying to build, like, what are you trying to achieve, and what are your skill set. Like, for example, people ask me, like, why do you do something with like steel or something, but I don't know how to work with steel. I know how to work with wood. So that's why I built with what I built with. But what I'm going to show out there is that tank is in the middle of the main fish room. So the tank is going to be lower, and it's going to have a lot of glass because I want to be able to see through it and over it, so it doesn't make the room feel small having this big tank in the middle. I don't want to cut the room in half visually. So it is going to be quite a bit different build. So between the 3000 and the 600 and the 1500, the new 1500 build, it'll show you 3 different ways to do these tanks, because they're all a little bit different, or considerably different from each other. So from that standpoint, it shows you a lot of different ways to do it, and plus it's just going to be a pretty unique tank. I think it's a really nice layout, and I just can't wait to see these Predators, cruising that big 12x6 footprint. It's going to be great. Plus, I have some interesting concepts for the filtration. Obviously, sharks and rays are kind of high bioload, so it's not the same sort of filtration. Like, for example, here with this going back to being a reef slope, tying in with the 265, which is kind of that quasi-reef fowler tank, the refugium filtration with the protein skimmer works a lot better for that setup. For these kind of high bioload fish, a little iffy. I feel a little better going with these guys, going with a, obviously still a protein skimmer, but going with a higher flow system where the water moves through the filtration system more quickly, and where a lot of the media in the filter system is dedicated to denitrification, because these guys produce a lot of waste, which means you're going to break down a lot of waste, which means you're going to produce a lot of nitrate. And as you know, I don't want to do big water changes on big tanks, so I want some way to complete the nitrogen cycle. I want to have that nitrate break down fully and get utilized in a biological process, and not a mechanical process of me draining it out and pumping in new water. Plus, you know, I'd probably go out, be run out of house and home buying that much salt if I was doing big water changes on these big salt tanks all the time. Okay, so that is the update. Bucket list, 2 of the bucket list fish are here. A new massive DIY build is kicking off, or has already kicked off, as you can see. And new bucket list fish are going to be coming once that tank is done. So there won't be anything stopping me from getting all the sharks and rays I've been wanting to get, as well as some interesting tank mates for them. All right, thanks for checking out episode 14. Keep an eye out for the build video series for the 1,500 gallon Predator Bay. And then once we do get Predator Bay built, and we get these guys moved over, well, that's going to kick off a new series on the 600 gallon reef slope. So we got a lot of work to go there. And I know I've teased with a few people on comments on the posts, on the YouTube posts, that there's a big thing coming for the 3,000 gallon, and that is in the works too, and it's been going on for a while. So the next time you see the 3,000 gallon Amazon tank, you're gonna it's gonna have a lot of changes, and it's going in the right way. A lot of cool additions to it, both with the filtration, the plants, and the fish. So a lot of really cool things coming to that as well. So just a lot going on. So stay tuned.